What's up? What's up, YouTube? Lemon Pepper Louisville with you once again. Hope everybody taking care of themselves, staying safe out there, and basically living their lives. All right, we're doing a major interview right in a couple minutes with my man Too Raw. If y'all don't know who Too Raw is the guy who be breaking down sport topics, the government, anything that's on newsworthy. Too Raw has I don't even know how long Too Raw been on YouTube, but he has been probably one of the greatest legends on YouTube for the last couple of years. Like when he speaks, you pay attention. So we're going back to do a super interview. We're just waiting on my man Too Raw to come up there. So for that, I'm on copy the clipboard. All right, man. Just hit that. Just hit the link, man. I'll let you in. We go one on one. One on one. All right, man. Thanks for coming back to Raw.
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, man. Yeah, sorry about that, man. I don't be checking, I rarely be on Twitter, man. I rarely be on it, but I need to check it more often. But
That's all right, man. Like it's been hard trying to get interviews with certain people, man. But I really appreciate you coming back.
Yeah, no problem, man. Yeah, I heard you earlier. Yeah, I've been on YouTube as a content creator, man. It's hard for me to believe this, but it's been that long. But 11 years, man. About 11 years. And I've been on YouTube for about 16 years. Just as a person, before people started making videos. But yeah, I've been on it for a while, man. But man, a lot of cool people. I like your content. I like a lot of the brothers in the LDBC. So shout out to you and the brother LB and Town Biz 78, everybody, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, before you start doing content, what made you want to get into that? Get into that.
Well, when YouTube first started, there wasn't a lot of content up here, So I was like a lot of casual people that just came over here to look at old fights and old games, and I didn't have a knowledge that there was a community on YouTube until about 2007, and then I started noticing that it was people on here that were part of a community making videos about different things. There was a boxing community that developed, a basketball community, a political community. All these things were developing. And I initially gravitated to the basketball community. But what I was having issues with was I've always been a person that followed and try to make sure that I knew the knowledge of things, the history of it. But I saw people on here that had certain agendas. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. So that started getting me impassioned to not to say like I'm getting on here thinking I know everything, but I just wanted to be a voice to people who were in opposition to what was going on YouTube then. But then over time, Lou, you start seeing what's going on in the media. And, throughout sports and politics and social stuff. And, as it gone on, we just started seeing all this crap. So we just wanted to, it developed into, well, me and other people just had a passion to be an opposition voice to what's going on out there in the media, so that's kind of how it developed with me. It developed for me, just being a opposing voice to what we saw first on YouTube and then the mainstream. That's when we started saying, well, man, we're actually a community here. We need to put aside our differences and go against what's going on out there in the mainstream.
Okay. Before you started doing this, did you have somebody you looked up to? Because I'm one of the guys who looked up to you. I look up to you and Ticket, 778, and all the other guys. Did you have somebody you looked up to before you started doing this?
Yeah. There's one particular former YouTuber who doesn't do YouTube videos anymore. But there's a guy named Bruce Blitz.
Okay.
And Bruce Blitz, not the cartoonist, because another one named Bruce Blitz. It's a cartoonist, but Bruce Blitz is the guy that I looked up to the most because I was very taken aback by not just his knowledge historically, but his knowledge of the game. And he could articulate himself in a way that very few people can. And then, he was a guy I looked up to. Another guy I look up to, even to this day, he's been an influence on me, is 78. He's a really good friend of mine. And 78 is a person that if you listen to him, he will push you to look at things in a deeper perspective. He comes at you with a perspective that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people just see things black and white, pardon the pun. But some people can see things with a third eye, or they can see the gray areas that other people can't see. And he's been a big influence on me to look at things much more, much deeper and with more nuance than I used to 10 or 15 years ago. So those have been the two main influence on me, I would say, as far as making videos.
Okay. Talk some NBA real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The way the game played today, do you think the NBA is in a better place right now, or it just the game is kind of ruined right now? Like it ain't what it used to be.
Well, that's a matter of perspective. I mean, the young people love it. They love it. They love the way the game is played. If you listen to people who are under 30, for the most part, they'll tell you that this is the best basketball. They're sold in. They think LeBron James is the GOAT. Basketball is always targeted a youth audience. So to them, they think the game is at its apex. Me personally, I hate the way the game is played. I hate it. I've always gravitated toward the way basketball is played in the late 90s. I like defense. I've always gravitated toward the big man. I like the power forwards and centers of the 90s, where you're talking about Shaq, Tim Duncan, Garnett, Weber, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, all those guys, man. I like the big man. I like, so no, I don't like the way it's played. I don't like this up and down, everybody's shooting threes. There's no individual, nobody, there's lack of individuality, man. Everybody's playing the same way. And these guys aren't playing hard. To me, they don't play enough games. They take too long to come back from injuries. I think a lot of these dudes love the money, and they get a little bit lackadaisical. They don't care about the fans. That's how I feel about it. But I cover it because I like basketball, but I hate the way the game is right now. I can't stand it.
Do you think the rule changes in the media had a part to do with the way the game is today?
Yeah, that played a factor in it as far as taking the defense out. It made taking not gonna say totally taking the defense out, but making it a more offensive friendly game definitely has given perimeter players more leverage because they are the stars of the NBA now. So that the fact that the NBA is still very, very profitable, very successful, that has something to do with it. I think the problem, though, I hate to say this, Lou, it's the fact that, look, when we were growing up, right?
Yeah.
It was basically like you got one big contract. Like you came in, you made rookie money. Even if you were a great, great player, you didn't make big money until your second contract. Or if you were a good player, you really got like one big contract. All right. Now, these guys come in making big money. You know what I'm saying? Like you got rewarded for your play several decades ago, a couple of decades ago. You got rewarded for your hard work and hard play and tenure and got that big contract of $100 million. Now these guys come in making $100+ million. So there's no incentive for them guaranteed money, whether you play or not, or how hard you play. Is there really an incentive to go out there and play 100% and then risk an injury? These guys are protecting themselves. We've seen it throughout sports. Boxers, they don't go out and fight 2-3 times a year. They preserve themselves. They do fight. They fight B and C-list fighters for the most part. So we're seeing a little bit of that in basketball where they're kind of playing, they give you 60% effort. So, yeah, to me, those are some of the problems, the two main problems I see.
Like this past offseason, you had Kevin Durant talking about he wanted to go somewhere else, and he was trying to fight the brother neck tooth and nail. Do you believe he did it the right way, or was he out of line for doing what he was doing?
I'm kind of. I feel like I don't want to come across as pro owner because I'm not. I'm pro fan. I used to be kind of pro player, like a lot of us, but at the end of the day, we come to watch these players play. So I become very pro fan. All right. I do believe that you should honor your contract, unless the situation just becomes completely so chaotic, just to the point where you just can't deal with it anymore. A lot of the problems that KD has, he created on himself to his own accord. You came in there, you had a nice squad anyway. You and Kyrie, y'all had a nice squad that went to the playoffs before you guys got there. But to be greedy, to watch, see what LeBron doing, you had the LeBron James disease. You got rid of the team you had, these pieces you had, to bring in James Harden.
No, that's my coworker. That's my coworker saying hello to you.
Yeah, you bring these pieces in. It didn't work. Just own up to it. You know what I'm saying? You got embarrassed against the Boston Celtics. Don't blame the ownership because you play like shit. Don't blame Steve Nash because you play like shit against the Boston Celtics. That was on you. So come back next year and be, play better. Demand more of you and yourself. Demand more of yourself, and especially Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving, to me, more of a factor into why they didn't play well, as far as the team. But I don't approve of what he did. You know what I'm saying? I thought it made him look weak, like a quitter.
Now, also, we've been going through this whole Russell Westbrook situation. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Are they going to release him? Or is they going to try to work things out with Westbrook? What do you think could be the best option for the Lakers right now dealing with Russell Westbrook?
I mean, it's hard to say a little bit, Lou, because I mean, it's so many conflicting reports whether or not they really want to trade him or whether they just gonna make it work. To me, if you're gonna get rid of the motherfucker, just take the losses. Just take the losses as far as your future picks, and just get rid of Russell Westbrook. I mean, I know it's easier said than done because a lot of people don't want him, but just work it out some way, man. If you're gonna get rid of him, because I don't want to keep hearing him being a scapegoat. That's what annoys me. I know people don't like his play, don't like him, but at the end of the day, you can't keep talking about how you somebody sucks, somebody's this bad, somebody's a problem, but then you don't want to get rid of the person. Then it starts making me think you want him as a convenient crutch, a convenient lightning rod for the negative publicity whenever the team loses. So to me, I just hope that they get rid of him. If not, I hope somehow it works out. They play better. In particular, he plays better, and we just move on from this fucking season, which is bound to be a shit fest because they're not going to go to the championship.
Like, but you got LeBron. I think this season LeBron gonna care more about breaking that record than he is about team ball.
Yeah, it's gonna be a repeat of what we saw last year. Just him coming out and scoring. Because Darvin Ham already said.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that too, Rob.
Yeah.
If they still had the same rules from the 80s and 90s, do you think he would actually came close to breaking Kareem's record?
I'm glad you asked it like that. I'm glad you asked it like that rather than saying, would he still be LeBron James? Nah. Because if he played 20 plus years ago, I think there'll be a lot more attrition on him physically. The game was a lot more physical. And I think going through season after season after season after season of playing basketball would have wore him down more than it has over the past few years. Now, he's done an amazing job of keeping his body in shape, but that standing around not playing defense shit, that wouldn't have flew back in the 90s. So just, you know what I'm saying, just the more wear and tear on his body probably would have worn him down. I think he still could have played 20 years if he put his mind to it, but he would have staggered into his 19th and 20th season rather than still looking rather amazing. You know, just like a lot of these guys today, Lou, if you notice, you have a lot more players playing 19, 20 years now. That was rare 20 years ago because the wear and tear of the NBA season. That's how I feel about it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you like 5 names. I want you to tell me would they were being able to play back in the days in the 80s and 90s. The first name I'm gonna give you is Luka Doncic.
Yeah, well, probably, but he wouldn't be playing the way he's playing. Like I don't see him being a point guard back then.
Okay.
You know, because of the way basketball was played. I want to think he would be more like like maybe a power forward / stretch forward type guy. I think he would still be a great player, but I don't see him being a point guard just because of his body size, the way he's built, and the way we were looking at positions back then. And people played positions. Now, if you got ball handleability, you can be a 6'8" point guard. But I think he could play. I just don't know if he'd be putting up 30, 10, and 10 back then.
Okay, the Joker.
Yeah. Yeah, because the way that he plays, that translates to different eras. Don't know if he would average eight or nine assists, but yeah, I think he would still be an all-star level center. I could, I don't like to put numbers up, but I could still see him being an all-star center back in the 90s.
Kevin Durant.
Yes, definitely. Would he be a superstar? Yeah. Because KD is the type of dude, even though we call him sensitive, he tends to rise to the occasion for the most part when he's pushed out there on the court. So yeah, I think he would be a superstar in the 90s.
Stephen Curry.
And this is the one people gonna get mad at me about. I don't know if he'd be averaging 30 in the 90s. I don't know about that. I tend to think he would be an all-star, but when I look at Steph Curry, I tend to see like a more consistent, a better version of more Rauf.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I see a guy maybe like 20 points a game, 21 points a game. I think he'd still be an all-star, but I don't know about 30 plus points a game.
Okay, Giannis.
The way that Giannis plays the game, I think that he would still be a force. Maybe he might be more of a defensive. I think he would still be a scorer, but I think he'll be more like 20 points a game, like 11 rebounds. I think he'd be a hell of a shot blocker back in those days. I don't know if a team would revolve around Giannis unless it was a bad team. I just tend to see Giannis in the 90s being more of a transitional, like force type player, half court defensive presence, like trying to think of somebody in that era I could compare him to, but I see him like as more of a defensive presence in the 90s and early 2000s.
You think he would have been great in that Lakers system with Magic Johnson?
In the 80s and 90s? Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. But I just, for some reason, I see him more as a defensive presence in the 90s and 2000s. Don't get me wrong, I think he can still score, but I think it'd be more like around 17, 18, 19 points a game. And a lot of his points would be transition buckets. Like if he played like with a great point guard, I think it'll be more like that. Just because the game was slower and his position and how he plays. That's kind of how I would see Giannis back in the 90s and early 2000s.
I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I look at it like I looked at those old videos of Len Bias when he was in college at Maryland. It made me kind of wonder could Len Bias probably have been that if he played in the league like Giannis is today?
For his time,
Yeah.
That's not that far a stretch, man. Let me see. Len was what, 6'7". I mean, I don't know if he'll been the rebounder that Giannis is or quite the shot blocker, but the physical game, yeah, it's definitely there. The only problem I have with like when you project players like that, man, is that you just never know what could have happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, would he have gotten hurt? Would he have lived up to the rigors of it? Would his body have been made for the NBA? Probably would have, but not every great college player becomes a great NBA player. You know, Christian Laettner was one of the greatest collegiate players of all time, but as an NBA player, he was solid at most. So
The part of me with the whole Lakeland situation right there is, I think he's a decent player. He just played in the wrong era of the NBA.
Christian Laettner?
Because he could shoot.
Yeah.
If he was in today's game, they'd be looking at him like a superstar.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. You know, I do think this though. I do think that if Len Bias had lived, I think Boston would have won another championship. And if Len Bias had survived, who knows how the NBA landscape, especially in the Eastern Conference, would have, you know, played out in the early to mid 90s. You know,
they would have challenged the Bulls too.
Yeah, they would have. And I also wonder, I gotta think about if Bias hadn't died, if they would have still gotten him. But what about a team with both Reggie Lewis and Len Bias?
Two unstoppable forces.
Yeah. Because Reggie Lewis gave Jordan problems on the defensive end. I do remember that.
Speaking about the Bulls, like me and you grew up Bulls fans. Why ever since they won that championship in '98, why can't the Bulls ever get back to that level like that?
Man. Well, part of it is bad decisions by the front office, bad decision making by the front office. A lot of it's just they cheap as shit and bad luck, man. Bad luck. Like, I mean, just terrible luck, man. Like just now, you know, shit, Lonzo Ball. He got the best season of his career last year, and his knee just won't get right. He still has problems with his knee. Still got pain in his knee. May not play next season. You know, then Derrick Rose. That was supposed to be the new era for us, man, and injuries. You know, we had Jimmy Butler. He got traded, what was it, draft night? Didn't he get traded draft night to the Timberwolves a couple years ago? And look at Jimmy Butler right now on a team a piece or two away from going to the finals. The Bulls ain't going no damn where, man. It's just so much bad luck for us, man. Like, if it's bad trades, injuries, it's just stuff hasn't gone right, man.
Okay, why do you think so many media members and so many fans hate the Milwaukee Bucks so much?
Well, number one, the mainstream media, like I said this before, a lot of those guys, a lot of those people want to be celebrities, you know, and they've grown accustomed, they prefer to target large markets. They prefer to be in large market cities. They prefer, you know, to be in Miami, LA, New York. They just tend to want to cater to those markets anyway. So they look at small market teams as small potatoes. You know, they don't want to talk about Milwaukee. They don't want to talk about Sacramento. So when Giannis won that championship last year, the year before last with the Bucks, while we thought that was very impressive, they really didn't give him the flowers he wanted to because they really don't respect that. They don't respect that shit, man. They want Giannis to go to LA because another part of it is, Lou, these dudes don't be doing their homework like that. Those guys that on TV, man, they only cover like 4 or 5 teams, man. if they had to start covering all these small market teams, they have to really start doing a lot more research and doing their jobs. So that's why they prefer to have these damn players all on one damn team, so they can have to only talk about 3 or 4 teams any goddamn way. And then it's just with Giannis, it's just a culture thing, man. He's not from here. His game in their eyes don't translate well to younger fans, and just a lot of stuff against Giannis, man.
Speaking of media members, do you think that Wright actually means what he says on TV every single weekend, every single day? Because he's been putting down legends left to right lately. What's the problem? Is the money?
Who did you
Is
say?
the money that he got keep on doing what he's doing?
Who was that you said again?
Nick Wright.
Oh. What did he say? What did he say lately?
He's saying Jordan ain't shit.
Oh yeah,
basically.
Yeah. Well, we know that. Yeah. My thing about it, and I want to say this too, right quick, Lou. I don't like dislike somebody or get a hissy fit because they disagree with who the GOAT argue, who they think the GOAT is compared to me. That's not the problem. The problem I have is when people keep like downgrading the player to uplift theirs. And we know he do that all the time with Michael Jordan. The issue with Nick Wright is he always has to denigrate a player to bring up somebody else, and then he cherry picks shit. I don't know what his gripe is with Jordan. I suspect it's fans over the years have gotten on his nerves on his Twitter and shit. So he just be saying shit to irritate them or whatever. I don't know what the fuck it is, man. But I have my suspicions about Nick Wright because I know like some years ago he was a big ass KD fan, and then all of a sudden he became a LeBron fan. So I don't know whether part of it is for shtick, like just for a gimmick, or whether it's real or not. But I know he irritates the fuck out of me.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple more questions, and I know you're a busy man. I'm gonna get you out here too raw. I want to talk about the whole Brittany Griner situation right now.
Okay.
Now, you felt like she broke the laws, she deserved to be locked up. And can you elaborate on that one?
Well, I know. Well, I'll put it like this. From what I could tell, there's been prior incidents where her team and the WNBA have kind of gotten her out of trouble, so allegedly. Okay. My thing is, if you go to a country, you go over to another country, and you've been over that country several years, you've been over there before, and you know that they have these strict ass laws, and you know they're not a democracy in the sense that we are in, and you know they don't have certain guaranteed laws, guaranteed freedoms and rights to this and that. Okay, and then you take your ass over there, and you have these items on you. You know you have these items on you, and you get caught. Well, what the fuck can you do? Like, I don't want her to spend 9 years of her life in prison, but I'm not going to scream to the heavens that, oh, this is such an atrocity. She's a political prisoner. No, she broke the law, and she had to deal with the consequences of that shit. Huh?
Don't you feel that Russia keeping her over there because of what's going on with the war, what they have with that other country,
Ukraine?
Yeah.
I don't know if I see that one. I mean, you could argue because the United States are allies with Ukraine that they're using her as leverage to kind of punish the United States or whatever. I mean, I guess you could say that, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. At the end of the day, I just see it as, it's a situation where it's tense over there. You know what's geared to go down. You know that they're targeting Americans. It was the wrong time for her to take her ass over there to make some extra money. I know that they don't make the same money that the NBA players make. I don't know, bro. Like, my thing is this, too. We don't give NBA players, when they fuck up, all this benefit of the doubt. A motherfucker get caught with 6 ounces of weed. We say, hey, what the fuck is he doing? He's an idiot for doing that. We don't say, well, if somebody set him up, maybe he forgot the laws of that state. We don't go into all these nuances. We just talk about how he fucked up, and he fucked up, and he may not get signed, or he may have to sign for less money, or whatever the fuck the situation. I have legal issues, so I just don't give her a pass because of foreign issues going on right now. So, like I said, I hope she don't have to serve 9 years, but I'm not going to lose any sleep if she does. I mean, that's just me. But I understand where you're coming from, Lou.
Okay. How you feel about the election that's the midterm election that's going on right now?
Well, I mean, we screwed anyway because they ain't gonna do shit for us anyway, both sides. But from a competitive standpoint, I mean, I'm not surprised that the Republicans shot themselves in the foot, because whenever they get any ounce of power or any type of traction, they always do this. The whole abortion thing was a loser issue for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had it in the bag, but they screwed it up by going too far. And the abortion issue is probably going to be the prevailing issue that's going to sink it for the Republicans. They were in a great position to gain the House back, the Senate, and maybe in a couple of years the presidency with Trump. But now all of these events, you just don't know. You just don't know. I think that the Democrats are probably going to hold the House and the Senate, and mostly on the weight of the GOP overreached. They overreached with the abortion issue, and they picked candidates that are too far to the right that are probably going to lose in the general elections for most of these open races. But that's just my opinion.
Okay, we got 2 more years for Biden. He plans on running again in 2024 if he's still alive at that time. And Donald Trump is planning on running too. Do you see somebody, a dark horse, coming out to represent both sides?
Well, I think if Biden runs, by him being the incumbent president, if he runs again, I don't really think there's going to be a serious challenge to him, unless we go into a goddamn depression or some shit, But I think if Biden runs, he's going to be the nominee. Now, if he doesn't run, then somebody like Gavin Newsom, and shout out to LB because he brought him up a couple of weeks ago. I think somebody like Gavin Newsom could run. Now, on the Republican side, Trump looked like it was in the bag for him before this whole thing happened with Mar-a-Lago and the FBI raid. Now, with the fact that the DOJ, the Department of Justice, said that they're going to probably indict him after the elections, you don't know how long this thing is going to drag on. That could weaken him. And then you start seeing someone like Ron DeSantis being a viable option. So that is a guy that could definitely come out of the Republican Party and beat Trump, because he's definitely taken a lot of Trump's talking points and his style and his issues, and he could very well defeat Donald Trump in the primaries, a weakened Trump at least.
All right, right, Terrell. If Biden does get reelected, do you think he should replace his vice president?
I think he should. I don't think he will, but I think he should because she was the wrong pick anyway. She was forced on him. He didn't want to pick her. She was forced because there was a clamor because the Democrats had already picked a woman for the first time in '84 with Ferraro, so that barrier had already been broken. So the next level, the logical choice had to be a woman of color. So they picked her, and she's always a woman of color because she's whatever race she want to be for whatever fucking moment. Whether she needs to be an Indian American, she's that. Whether she's an Asian American, she's that. And in the past election, she had to pretend to be a black woman. So she was convenient for that election, but she's a horrible. She's not suited for the vice presidency. She don't know what the hell she's doing. So if he want to win, maybe he should get rid of her ass.
Like he's losing supporters left and right almost every single day now. Don't you think it'd be a good thing for her to step down, or do they have to vote her to step down?
Well, the president. Well, I'll put it like this: if there's enough clamor from the party for her to step aside, then more than likely that would happen. But I'm trying to think of the last sitting president that changed his nominee. I think it was Ford. If I'm not mistaken, I think the last one was Gerald Ford. When Ford ran for president in 1976, the Republican Party was moving to the right? So the vice president was Nelson Rockefeller, who was a liberal to moderate Republican, and the Republican Party was forced forward to pick a conservative, which was Bob Dole. Now, ultimately, that probably cost him the election. But I think that's the last time that happened. So it doesn't happen often. So it's almost like they're going to be stuck with Kamala, especially if she don't want to fucking step down, which I doubt it because she's such a power-hungry fucking person. But, if it obviously becomes her, like she's the issue, who knows? Maybe she will step aside, but I don't think she will.
I'm gonna ask you this. Sarah Palin lost to her re-election in Alaska. It seems that's like the first time in 50 years that a Republican has not won in Alaska. A Democrat won. Do you think that's the cause of what's going on with the Republican Party she lost?
I think that was more of Alaskans not liking Sarah Palin. At one point in time, Sarah Palin was a popular governor, but after when she was vice president, she kind of lost touch with the people of Alaska, and they kind of started looking at her differently. I forgot some of the scandals that the scandals that were involved in the last half of her term, but her popularity just plummeted. And if I'm not mistaken, I think she had to step down as governor. So she wasn't popular with Alaskans, and that's they apparently they still didn't like her, But she narrowly lost though. She got 48.5% of the vote, but she lost. And that's also an indicator to me, Lou, that Alaska may be trending blue. Because in 2020, Biden got over 40% of the vote, which is the most I think any Democratic candidate has gotten since I think like Kennedy in 1960. And then you take into account that for the first time in 50 years, the representative for Alaska in the House is going to be a Democrat. So, if anything, Alaska may be trending blue. We'll have to wait and see. But that could be a bad omen for the Republicans. But then again, there's only 3 electoral votes. So it ain't like Texas or Florida, but we'll have to wait and see. But I definitely think that was a repudiation of Sarah Palin more than just the Republican Party as a whole.
Like you have said in the past, the way things are going, certain states that always been a red state are turning blue now. Is that trend gonna keep on going for the next couple of years?
I mean, it's hard to say. I would prefer saying purple, which would be a mix of blue and red, like swing states. I know that Texas has definitely been trending blue or purple the last few years. It's definitely been trending purple as you're getting a lot more people from other states moving in there, moving into Texas. Some people from California, some people from New Mexico, some people from Colorado, for business reasons. That's a state that's definitely Republicans have their eye on. And I'll tell you why I say that, because 20 years ago, if you're just talking about national elections, George Bush beat John Kerry in that state by 25 points. Trump beat Hillary by 9 points. In 2020, Trump beat Biden in Texas by only, I think, 6 points, 5 to 6 points. So it's definitely a trend that state is getting more competitive. Now, whenever that state turns blue, we don't know. But, there are definitely some states that are trending blue. And, there's some states that are trending red, like Pennsylvania has been trending red. Ohio used to be a swing state, Lou, but that state has pretty much trended to the right. Trump won those states easily. So the map and the demographics of states are just constantly in influx and changing. So you always have to kind of look at each election with a grain of salt as to see who's going to win where. But there are certain states that are just deep blue right now. California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, for the most part. Those are states that are just deep blue right now. And then there's certain states that are red, that Democrats don't have a shot at winning. They tend to be smaller states, but the prairie states, a lot of western states. So we have to wait and see.
Do you think the young people are getting educated good enough to make sure they're making the right vote for these states?
So you mean like whether they're educated enough to make a sound decision? I was talking to LB about this, man. 20 years ago, I think one of the problems, 25 years ago, one of the problems why we had low voter turnout is because young people were not interested they weren't really interested in politics anymore. Like they found politics boring and monotonous. But now I think one of the problems is a lot of people who aren't educated in the issues of voting now, because these candidates, they cater to the lowest common denominator. They cater to the people who are not as educated as others. And they're the ones who are voting, and it's the people who aren't as educated that are voting now. So it's almost been like a 180 on that. So I think that younger people who aren't educated on the issues tend to vote more than they used to. Actually, when I think about it, it's the people who are educated and kind of realize that, hey, man, the system isn't working. These candidates don't really give a shit about us. They're the ones who aren't voting.
Okay. Do you think this election gonna come down to the gun laws or the abortion situation?
Do you mean the midterms or the presidential election?
The presidential election.
Shit. It's gonna end up being how it's probably gonna end up being which party best. How can I say this? Which party, which candidate best articulates what the election is about? Because the election is going to ultimately be a referendum on Biden now. It's going to be a referendum on Biden. And I guess what you're going to have is people going to say, are we better off now than we were 4 years ago? And anybody that feels that way, they're going to vote for Biden. The people who probably going to be supportive of Trump or whoever's on the right going to say, they're going to talk about the culture wars. They're going to talk about some of the things that are going on in this country that they don't agree with. I don't want to get too deeply into that, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Stuff that people on the right don't like that's going on as far as certain things going a little bit too far out and things of that nature. Now, the gun laws, the Republicans are going to want to emphasize that, that the administration is trying to take away our guns and things of that nature. But the Biden administration can counteract that by talking about the fact that they just what was it? They just implemented Biden's going to put 100,000 more police officers on the streets. So they're going to try to they want to appear to be as pro-gun and pro-authority as possible to counteract that shit. So I don't know, man. I don't know what this next election is going to be about, man. At the end of the day, I do think the abortion thing is still going to hurt the Republicans. I think it's still going to be a close election. And at the end of the day, I don't know who's going to win because there's so many different things going on. So it'll be silly for me to say who's going to win. But I just think I know one thing, I'm not going to vote just because of the fact that these two candidates are horrible. We deserve a better choice than these two idiots running. But that's just my opinion, Lou.
I would say that good independent candidate up there.
I wish there was, man. I wish there were, because I don't want to give the impression that we should never vote. It's just that we don't have any credible candidates in the mainstream running. There are third-party candidates. The media just doesn't, endorse them or give them any publicity. But there are other candidates that are usually on the ballot. So, I mean, look, if you find that there's a candidate on the ballot or one of the third parties that you like where they stand on the issues, you like their stances on certain things. Me in particular, I feel a certain type of way about, I think we should get reparations. I think it's time for that. But you're not going to hear any major party candidate say that. So until they start talking about certain things, I'm not voting. But, if we had a credible third-party candidate that at least would meet us halfway on some of these issues, I would entertain voting.
I feel you on that, too, Raw. All right, man. I'm gonna get you out on that because I know you're a busy man. But thanks for coming by and doing this interview with me. Tell people where they can find your channel at and your Instagram, all
that. Okay. Well, I have two main YouTube channels, Too Raw for TV, as you see right here, and I have another channel there on both channels. I also have a Patreon it's called Too Raw for TV, if you're familiar with that. And the Patreon, I talk about things that we can't talk about on YouTube. And it's only $2 per month to sign up to that. I know people are like, man, we're paying for it. But I think it's worth it, though, because on the Patreon, you can talk about anything on the Patreon. You know what I'm saying? And I take requests on there as well as far as topics. But that's pretty much where you can find me. I also have a Twitter, Too Raw for Sports. But I'm not on there as much as I should be, but I also have a Twitter. But that's where you can find me at.
Put your Cash App out there too, man, because normally you get some of your equipment on your Cash App.
Oh, yeah. My Cash App is $ Too Raw, the number 2. You think I should put it in the chat or in the comments, or should I should just say it?
You can put it in the chat, man. Because it's gonna be this video. I ain't gonna delete this video. Like, it's gonna be up for everybody. You can share this video, on your page too.
Okay. I'm gonna put it down there. But my Cash App is $ Too Raw 01, and my PayPal is Too Raw for TV. But I'm just going to put it in the links right here. You guys want to show love, and like I said, I also do requests, usually through the PayPal and the Cash Apps. But yeah, man, Lou. I've been watching Lou for quite some time, man. Great channel, and I'm also on my YouTube and do a video shouting out Lou. I want this brother to, be successful and whatnot, man. On here.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that, Too Raw.
No, I mean, yeah, you got a good channel, man.
All right. Thank you for coming back to Raw. Remember, follow Too Raw got 2 YouTube channels, a Patreon and a PayPal and the Cash App. Look at some of his content. He really breaks down some of the sports and topics, and he also lets y'all know about birthdays and certain events that happen in the world in the past 20 to 40 years. Other than that, if anybody got any questions for Too Raw, down below, you can ask right now before he goes. I guess not. I'm still a small channel, Too Raw, man. I'm trying to get 1,000 people.
Hey, man, I remember, man, I was doing videos back in 2011. I was talking to myself. I took a video and I look at it the next day. That joint had like 0 views. That's just how it is, man. Like I'm not no channel that developed overnight. It took a while for me to get the 30,000 subs I got, man. It took me a long time, and it was I think I was on YouTube for 3 years, and I still only had like 200 something subs. So it don't come all at one time, man. But you got a voice for. I mean, if you got like a voice for this and a passion for this, it can happen. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I think Jacob Jennings wanted to say something.
You got a question, Jacob? Let me see if y'all want to come up here real quick. If y'all got a question, y'all can come up here and add to Raw. If not, y'all can also ask in the chat too. Because wow, okay. All right, man. Thanks for coming. Once again, thanks for coming. Oh,
I think Jacob said he's switching phones.
Why are you in here too, Raw? I'm gonna ask, like, you've been talking about this whole NFL situation, like, what do you feel that they doing wrong with the black community right now?
I mean, me personally, I don't know. It's just that I just don't like how the NFL treats black players as opposed to white players. You know, so like the NFL, you know, for a long time, it just has a long oppressive history of racism. I'm not trying to say the NBA is perfect, but you know, you've had people who were actual segregationists be owners of NFL franchises. Matter of fact, I think the Redskins' original owner, if I'm not mistaken, was it the Redskins? I think he was a super racist. Yeah, the Redskins.
Right. He that like they tried to change that name, the rest his name years ago. He said he would never do it ever. He
Yeah,
didn't stand by that. They got a statue of the former owner outside the stadium too.
right. So it's like to me, man, it's just the NFL caters to a different audience than the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like the NBA audience is more urban, younger, blacker. Um, the NFL's audience is older, grayer, more conservative. So and whiter. So they don't cater to us. And you know, when you look at a lot of the shit that's going on now, like let me ask you this, Lou. When we were growing up, did you ever see them always question whether a quarterback deserves their contract?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Now all of a sudden, because you have this surge of black quarterbacks, everybody's always questioning whether he deserves this money. Is he getting paid too much? Why hasn't he won a Super Bowl yet? Lamar Jackson, why hasn't he won? But Phillip Rivers got to play his entire career and didn't win a damn thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I just hate those double standards. And you know, at the end of the day, that just turns me off from the NFL. But at the same time, I do want to support the brothers that are in the NFL. I want to support the young black quarterbacks, and I want them to be successful. So I have a love-hate relationship with the NFL right now.
All right, Jacob, you got a question for Two Raw?
Oh, hey, Two Round, man, what's going on with you, man? Long time, man. Long
Yeah, it's
time.
been a while, man. It's been a long time. But I know you've been a long time subscriber to the channel, man. So
Yeah, for sure, because I know you covered the last election, and you know what I'm saying. I was just curious, man. What do you think about the next, the next like election coming up? You know what I'm saying. You think Trump and Biden to go for a second round, or do you think Trump will be, he got a more of a better game plan, or what do you think?
there's so many things that I'm thinking of, man. So I don't want to take too long answering the question, but I'm gonna say this. I'm convinced that the only Democrat is as unpopular as Joe Biden is, and as awful as Joe Biden is, in my opinion. I think he's a stupid fuck, and I think he's a demented old fool. But I have to admit, I think he's the only Democrat that can beat Donald Trump in an election right now. For right now, I think he's the only one that can beat Donald Trump in an election. Look, the problem with Trump is this. I'm trying to look at it like down the line.
Right.
He has this problem going on right now with the investigation.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably going to be indicted after the election.
Okay.
I don't know how long. I'm assuming that this is going to drag on for a while. I can't help but think. I mean, the people who are going to vote for Trump going to vote for him regardless. He going to always have that 40%. It's the 5% that he might start losing. If this drags on, plus if a lot of the candidates that he picked lose in the election, we already had Sarah Palin lose. If they lose in the midterms, then that kind of brings down his stock a little bit. Then if his stock start going down, then some of the opposition, well, this motherfucker's kind of weak now. We was quiet when he was president because he was the leader. He could crush us, but now he's weakening. So the opposition, the former Bush Republicans, and anybody that don't like him and all that type of shit, they might start, or people that just want to challenge him for the superiority party, they might start becoming more vocal. And maybe, a situation can happen where, let's say Trump does run for the nomination and Ron DeSantis runs, right? If Ron DeSantis runs, plus the regular losers like Ted Cruz and all those other guys, let's say they run, but Liz Cheney runs in the Republican primary. She can't compete with those guys in the South. But in those primaries where they allow Democrats and independents to cross over, she could steal some of those primaries. So if she could steal some of those primaries in like Michigan or Minnesota or some states like that, I got to look at the rules are. And if DeSantis wins in Florida and then he gets any type of momentum, maybe they could knock Trump out. So it's a lot of things you got to look at. But if you asking me, toe to toe, who I think will have the advantage in 2024, man, I think this will be another close election. It's going to depend upon the economy. It's going to depend upon, I think a lot of different things, man. Just the environment in 2024. I do feel like, though, the more that Trump gets exposed, like how can I say this? The more we see Trump, the more we dislike him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny how Trump started beating Biden in the polls when we didn't see him no more. But all of a sudden now he's kind of being out there and you kind of remember why you didn't like him, and his numbers start going down again. So it's hard to say, bro. I really don't know who's going to win, but I think it's going to be close. But I do think the only Democrat probably that could beat Trump is Biden. Now, if Biden doesn't run, LB said this the other day, and it's a good guess. I could see Gavin Newsom running for president, the California governor, if he ran for president. But that's all I think. That's all I got for right now, man. It's too early. It's way too early.
Well, I got one more question.
Right.
This is about us as Black America and stuff like that, man. Like, I mean, should we what do we need to go in what type of approach, or what should be our primary focus when it comes to picking and choosing candidates, and you know what I'm saying? Because when you invest time and money and then you feel like you're not really getting that, we're not getting what we deserve, at times, as far as we still fight for reparations. Should we take a different type of approach, or you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just, to me, I'm more focused on, honestly, man, really what we should be doing as a people, because at some point, man, we're gonna have to start looking at each other, man. So
yeah, I know what you're saying. We kind of still stuck in a position where we're looking for somebody to save us or help us, or we're still kind of stuck in certain early developmental stages of our progress as a people and shit. I think, oh boy, man, if we could just get more out of just basic things in our society, man. Like, if we could just become better educated on the issues, better educated on what's going on in our communities, open our eyes, as well as seeing what's going on as far as the game of politics and how we're being used And, just some of these basic things would help us out. But as far as our communities, man, we got a lot of problems, man.
Yeah, it's like we got a lot of work to do on the inside before we can really focus on the big. We got big issues, but it's like, man, it's like that's one thing that I feel like that our people lack. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. I think there's either a large amount or there's just not enough. It's like everybody's kind of in their own thing, but we need to really put everything. We need to find out what's facts, and then we need to find out what's not true, and we kind of need to build from there. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that way everybody has an clear understanding. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can we move as a unit? Because I think if we're moving in different, you going this way, I'm going that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was just thinking about when you were saying that, I'm thinking crabs in a barrel.
Right.
I was just thinking that. Yeah, that's how we are. And we can't have this. We don't have to always. It's not about agreeing with everything. That's not what I'm talking about. I know that's not what you're talking about. But it have to be certain basic things that we have to agree upon as a people. No other race has this issue except for us, really. Like there's certain things that we have to acknowledge that we have to work on. We got to work on these things internally. All right. And we got to fix some things with us. And to be honest with you, Jacob, it's not going to happen in 10 years or 20 years. It's a lot of things that we got problems with. A lot of things.
So I'm not trying to wait till I'm 60 years old, man. When you say 20 years, I'll be 60.
Yeah, I know, man, but it's a lot of things that's like we got to work on, man. It's like some of the things I don't even feel comfortable saying on YouTube, but
right.
Yeah, but these politicians can't fix these problems, man. They can't, and we just got to become more proactive in our own communities. And also, it starts from the grassroots level, man. We got to worry about our own communities and start from there. And then if we could elevate our own communities. When I say communities, I mean where we just live at. If we can elevate where we live at and fix some of our problems from that vantage point and then expand outward, because like I said, we got a lot of issues, man.
Yeah. Do you recommend like what you recommend as far as our people focus on the entrepreneurship about, just kind of like career wise or something like that? You know what I mean? Instead of just getting a good job and we can actually franchise, because that's one thing I can never Google, man. I can never Google. There's not a black franchise that's within the United States or in another country or something like that, to where it's actually owned by either somebody black, and you know what I'm saying, it's like it came from somebody who basically worked from the trenches, just like me and you. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. So
yeah, absolutely. I believe that we should be looking at black entrepreneurship and businesses, because a lot of times, I mean, look, man, the way that the system is set up and designed, especially as black men, sometimes economic opportunities are limited. Now, at the same time, we have to realize that because of where we are, we got to work harder than our counterparts. It's unfair, but we got to grind harder than other people. It's just the way it is. But another way to create income is to develop other talents.
Right.
and take trades and make yourself multidimensional. And
Yep.
when you have different talents, if one thing doesn't work, you can rely on other things. And I definitely believe that would benefit us, most definitely. I think that we need to become more business savvy. We need to be more. We have to, for lack of a better term, we got to be better than everybody else, bro.
Right.
We got to be better just to get to the level playing field, and we just have to do this. But yes, I definitely believe that, man.
Hey, T-Raw, do you? I mean, not to take up too much of your time, but would you encourage, like, should we be? I know we always encourage each other, support black business and support black business, but do you think people don't? You think our people don't understand the importance on why we should be supporting each other? Because maybe that's like, if you selling Jordans, Lou selling, you know what I'm saying? But I go to the mall and go buy them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you selling the same shoes. You know what I'm saying? They real, authentic.
See, that right there is part of the problem. What you just said, because if you're a smaller business, you're not going to be able to afford to sell them most likely as cheap as a huge, conglomerate or huge, So if, like I said, if I'm just starting off and I'm selling and I sell shoes and I'm a black-owned business, and let's say Lou Enterprises is a multi-billion-dollar company, but they can sell these same shoes at a much cheaper rate. Now, you know why that's the case, but sometimes we have this thing where we don't want to see somebody else that look like us get ahead. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's ingrained in us. Sometimes we just don't want to see that. So we make up excuses. Man, why should I go there when I can go there and get them cheap? Why should I go to Mike's store when I can go to Lou's store and get them for $70 cheaper? I mean, that make no sense. I mean, shit.
Always comparing prices.
Yeah, always comparing prices and all this. But at the same time, Jake, we don't have a problem going to these other people.
Nope.
And buying marked up stuff. Hey, Lord, welcome to City Cat. Welcome to City. Can you come eat that? Yes. Yeah, man. So, I got these burgers out there, man. It was like, 2 burgers for $12, man. But shoot, I just had to do what I had to do, man. I was hungry.
Get racial profile in the Chinese stores. What do you want?
Right. So we don't have a problem going there and buy extra expensive stuff because we don't care.
Yeah,
we don't care that they taking money out of our communities and putting it toward and pulling it toward their communities.
They get rich and richer.
Huh?
They get rich and richer because it proves. Look, what we doing, we're actually proving why we're the biggest consumers in the U.S. Man, nobody is spending at the rate as Black Americans. It's like, just Black people in general. It's like, I don't get it. I'm like, man, wait a minute. We drive a nice car. Hey, ain't no wrong, man. Look, if you got a Lamborghini out there, you a brother. Hey, more power to you. I ain't knocking a Mayweather or nobody like that. They got all those luxury cars. That's cool. But you know what? I'm trying to figure out, man. So nobody has an idea of creating their own car and becoming you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I believe, hey, we built America anyway. We did that. We should have something. We should have something, creativity. I know, I'm pretty sure we probably created a whole bunch of stuff with the car that was probably like taken away, you know what I'm saying? And somebody took credit of, you know what I'm saying? We created electricity, created, what was it?
I believe it was a black natural resources. I believe it was a black person that created the stoplight.
Stoplight, yeah. That. So I mean, shoot, especially the medical field, man. Like, man, you would think in the medical field, man, we should be like dominated. It's like Black people are more are natural nurturers when it comes to understanding the anatomy, the human anatomy of the body and everything. How the body works, stuff like that. And because I think tradition, we're living in. See, this is like Western culture to a lot of people. So we're really adjusting to another culture that's not traditionally our culture. That's why when you go like countries like Africa and stuff like that, man, they still, don't get me wrong, they've using modern technology, but a lot of them are still using old, tribal traditions, as far as like medicine wise and stuff like that actually help the body preserve and be healthy and stuff like that. So
right. Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's pretty much what I want to ask you, man. I love listening to your. Honestly, man, I think, man, you need to focus more on the political things. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, I know you love sports, but man, you got to give some talent when it comes to talking about.
That's really my politics has always really been more my thing. But I like basketball, but I love politics more. So
yeah.
I definitely love politics more.
Yeah.
The problem with that is when two raws really too honest on policy on top on YouTube, they always try to spend his time.
Yeah. No shade and want a flag and man, get all unnecessary stuff.
You know what drives me?
You all got Patreon, Jacob.
Yeah. I'm with the. I've been having this Patreon since he came out with it.
You know what's crazy though? If you're considered pro-black
on
YouTube, they will screw with you. That's gonna happen if you talk politics. But if you're a guy that is black but you spew anti-black rhetoric, they won't screw with you. They won't mess with you. I've seen channels that got nothing but Trump supporters and white supremacists all in the comment section. Guy got 300-some thousand subscribers, 20,000, 50,000 views a video, and ain't get taken down one time. And all his videos ain't nothing but hate speech toward black people. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Hey, two raws like that on TikTok too.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But I just I couldn't coon like that I couldn't. No, ain't no amount of money in the world worth that, man.
Yeah, that's that's why I hope that we're able to, as a people, to come some type of maybe, I don't know if it's like agreement, but I think that we try to not acknowledge education. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like our people lack knowledge, man. This is it's a scripture that says our people perish for the lack of knowledge. And I'm thinking, okay, what is it saying? Why does that scripture saying lack of knowledge? You know what I mean? It's not, when you lack knowledge, it's like if we're talking about laws and I don't understand the law, then that means I feel like I lack the knowledge about the law. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I can't really respond, or I'm not understanding if two candidates coming to me and say, hey, Two Raw, this is what we want to do for you. Well, Two Raw, this is what we want to do for you. And then by you understanding the law, you're able to determine, okay, well, what has the law done in the history of, for us and just, people in, say, the community that you live in throughout the years. You're going to have to start breaking down things before you can just make a decision. You know what I'm saying? Who actually is, you're going to want evidence. I feel like voting, our vote should cost. You know what I'm saying? I think it shouldn't be just us doing it. I feel like we should be compensated for voting. You know what I'm saying? Because they're making money off of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I just think, man, that like we got to do a better job as a people, man, of just expecting something for, like, when we do vote.
Right.
Everybody else, when they vote, the candidates try to give them an argument to win them over as to why they have earned their, why they should get their vote. They give them an argument. They give them, what's what I'm trying to look for? They haggle them. They haggle like a car salesman why they should get their vote.
Right.
With us, they really just sort of try to scare us.
Yeah.
You know, they just try to scare us, or
like the way Biden did.
Yeah. They're gonna put you in chains.
You don't vote for me, not back.
Yeah. You know,
insult. Hold on, you insulted me at the same time trying to vote for you, man. What is that?
Right. We're gonna put you back in chains.
Like, yeah. They dream. They've been dreaming. They've been dreaming about Amistad and Glory again, and the other slave movie. What's the Roots?
Yeah, like,
yeah.
They don't really give us any incentive to vote, other than, you know, they try to scare us, or they try to browbeat us, or make us submit into voting. Well, your ancestors died for the right to vote. Well, okay.
Yeah, you killed them. What you mean? You killed us. You killed us in talking about voting. Hey, you know what, too, Rob, man? I'm always gonna. I don't know if you ever seen that interview with when Louis Farrakhan and that guy, man. This be on the 60 Minutes. Used to do the interview.
Mike Wallace.
Yeah. Oh man, dude. When I'm tell you, that is my favorite. You know what? That interview right there inspired me, man. That interview will always resonate in my heart as a black man. It just gave me. It's like Louis Farrakhan gave me hope. You know what I'm saying? He actually gave me hope when he had to check Mike Wallace and remind him of the history of America. You know,
right.
When he was talking about Somalia or whatever country, I can't remember it was, he was saying it was a disruptive country in Africa, and, you know, and Farrakhan wasn't knocking him. He was like, "What? Are you serious?" Like, talking about a country that's 35 years old versus a country that's 226 years old. And he started comparing. You want to compare bad, you know, compare like, you know, you want to play holy with US, but try to point the finger at a country that does have, you know, don't have the natural resources or the government, whatever. And you know what I'm saying? Just how eloquently he broke it down and you know what I'm saying, and scolded him. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, checked him, like, hold on, man, you wrong, brother. You don't need, let us handle that, you know? So
right. So, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, man, I laugh when the United States try to act higher and holier than thou, man. That should be making me like, that shit crazy, man. When they be trying to demonize other countries, acting like the United States is not trying to become an empire themselves.
Man, look, I say leave any country that poses any type of nuclear threat, leave them alone. I'm not trying to be, listen, I don't have no many places to hide. I can't hide, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just like this, man. Hey, look, leave these other countries alone, man, because we can't defend all of them. We can't defend all of them. Everybody in the U.S. is not in the military.
Yeah, see, that's a good point, man. Like, shit, the people that's in the government, they got all these secret goddamn underground facilities they can go to in the case of a nuclear strike. You know, they could survive. Like, I believe, what is it, under Greenbrier? Like, it's a golf resort, or it's a golf I think it's in West Virginia or something like that, but I think underground. I got
Right.
research to get, but I think it's Greenbrier. But I think under there, shit, man, they got enough food stored for like 5 or 6 years. In the event that they have we have a nuclear attack. I think it's the same thing in Arkansas. There's another underground, like, for lack of a better term, housing unit for the elites in the event that we have a nuclear attack. The rest of our asses, we on our own.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny too, bro? When 9/11 happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember that Bush was MIA all fucking day for the most part. And I'm like, here we are under attack. Where the hell the president at?
Right.
I'm like,
yeah.
Where the leadership at, man? We all panicking and shit and thinking we all, everybody gonna be attacked. You're hearing New York City is next, and Richmond, where I live at, was next, and all these other cities is next. I'm like, damn, where our leadership at? These motherfuckers was hiding somewhere.
Man, I you know what I think, man? I still believe to this day, man. I think U.S. had a lot to do with. I don't know, man. I still feel like, you know what? Have you ever watched those movies where you feel like the person you've been looking at the movie was like, they was the person that, okay, you trying to figure out, like a thriller. You ever watch like a thriller?
Right.
And the very person that you wouldn't expect to be the one to be doing all the killing was behind everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you missed a clue, like something they did or something that they said, or you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you be like, oh snap, I knew it was something was funny about that person the whole time. You know what I mean? And that's why I kind of feel like the US, man, they remind me of they play that role as if, like, you know what I'm saying? They're not the victim, but they actually the masterminds behind, I think they played a part in some of it. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think it was just a country that just hated. You know what I mean? Like,
I do remember reading that almost every if not every government official, like high-ranking government official, by late August had switched from using commercial flights to personal, like government. Like they stopped riding commercial flights for some reason. Some weird reason, all of them just stopped using commercial flights. So that's interesting. Why is that? Because they knew something was going to happen. They knew something was going to happen, and there's some other stuff that's out there. I don't know whether it's true or not, but it just, it's some weird shit. Hey, I'm gonna tell you something else that they don't talk about a lot.
Oh yeah.
You remember Flight 93, the one that supposedly
the movie?
Well, yeah, there was a movie, but Flight 93 was the one that supposedly citizens brought down. Well,
yeah.
The White House was going to shoot that plane down because it was headed toward the White House supposedly. But who's to say that they didn't shoot it down?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's man. Hey, look, I was telling these guys in my apartment. I said, man, let me tell you something. Every U.S. president, whether he's served a term or not, every U.S. president they take the oath to serve the United States as president, right?
Right.
But every U.S. president is also a part of a secret society, which is like they hold confidential information that only they know. It can never be shared I think every U.S. president is have I think they're all been still. I think they all been closely watched so information don't get out.
Mm-hmm.
And just because they're not in office doesn't mean they're not working. They still work.
Mm-hmm.
I think they still work. They're just not working, in the Oval Office or whatever that they primarily worked out of. You know what I'm saying? During their term. So I still think that they have a lot of, they still speak with different people and still work behind the scenes. But also, they could never share confidential files that they do know. I believe there's secret intelligence that they do know, but they cannot share. Like the U.S. government is not going to tell us everything about what's technically like what the country knows. Just there's like files. There's like a lot of information that people have probably been trying to get their hands on to expose America, but they can't. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that a lot of the U.S. presidents have a lot of knowledge and information on that.
I know one thing that's interesting is that they still haven't released all the documents involving the Kennedy assassination, and that was almost 60 years ago. I mean, you would
I've
think,
been wanting to know about that for years, man.
Yeah, you would think, hell, that was 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much everybody that's affiliated with the Kennedy assassination, even if it was within a nefarious way, they're dead. So you're not protecting. There's nobody that you need to protect anymore. So why is everything still declassified? Well, not everything, but why is a lot of stuff still declassified unless you don't want the American people to know certain things? You don't want them to know that maybe some presidents were involved. Who knows?
Right. Hey, T-Rod, do you think the movie National Treasure is kind of an example?
I've never seen that movie.
I remember it, but because I know it was based off, it had something to do with the Constitution. Something about the Constitution, people have been trying to get their hands on it. So, because it supposedly had a map and it had like led to some type of treasure or whatever that was worth a lot of money. But, yeah, man, I used to, like I said, I used to, like watching the news and stuff like that. How the government always made like Muammar Gaddafi as a bad person and stuff like that. A lot of people, oh, he's a bad man. Then you kind of like go back and do your own research. You be like, man, what was wrong with Muammar Gaddafi? You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I get a different perspective. Like, he don't seem like he was a bad person as they portraying him to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like
this is what I always wondered, right? Like, growing up, man, they made Fidel Castro out to be the devil incarnate, right? Like, just evil, like Hitler. But then I would look at some of the people who the United States was like allies with, and I'm like, this guy's way worse than Castro. Yeah, Castro. I'm not saying Castro was a saint, but okay, he imprisons some of his people who are enemies of the state, and he has executed a few people. But this guy, genocide, killing, going on killing sprees, killing, 20 million people or 10,000, 20,000 people in the United States allied with them. Like, I don't get this. And what I do notice is Castro was cool with first of all, Castro didn't kiss America's ass. That's one thing I noticed.
Right.
Okay, he was a communist, but so was the Soviet Union. So was China, and we are allied with them. So to me, I think it was something more than that. I think it was political reasons behind that. A lot of Cubans that migrated to Florida were very anti-Castro because they found him being oppressive, obviously. So a lot of it was politically motivated. Of course, you know, as powerful as the Cubans are as far as a voting bloc in Florida, and Florida is a very powerful state. So for so many years, it was pretty much necessary to be very anti-Castro, anti-Cuba for political reasons. So you have that. But like you said, Castro, from what I could tell, had no issues with race. He was cool with black Cubans, like dark-skinned Cubans. He gravitated toward them. Gaddafi loved Africa.
Right.
He was a person that loved Africa. And I'm gonna tell you something. I'm about to go soon too, but that's what turned me against Obama. Like that's what really started turning me against Obama. Here you are, man. You got ties to Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
And you pretty much signed off on this attack on Northern African leaders, or we want to call them Arab leaders. Like that whole shit against Gaddafi, to me, that was all just because Gaddafi wouldn't go along with the plan.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He fought against Gaddafi was fighting against like this Chinese excursion as far as like the Chinese was trying to colonialize a lot of you know what I'm saying, and you know, it just was a lot of shit, man, that Gaddafi was going through that the Western media don't talk about. And I think a lot of those individuals that end up killing Gaddafi, I think they were like CIA backed anyway. Like, so I think that whole situation was bullshit that he got assassinated like that, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it was the same, man. It's like it was the same thing with like Saddam. You know what I'm saying? Like Saddam. I don't believe Saddam's same beef was excuse me, was ever. I don't believe that he had actually like an issue with the U.S. You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like every country, huh?
Well, you know what's funny is that 3 years before, for the 80s, they were our allies. They were our allies in Iraq. Because,
that'll make sense, man.
Yeah, because during the 80s, you know, they were at war with Iran.
Right.
You know, with Ayatollah Khomeini, and they were at war. It was an 8-year war. But during that 8-year war, because Iran was our enemy, we were allies during the Reagan administration with Iraq. We were supplying them with weapons. So that's partially why, you know, Hussein did what he did in 90 when he invaded Kuwait, because he felt like, well, shit, we cool with the Americans, and we getting the idea that, hell, you know, they cool with us, so they're not going to attack us. You know, they might warn us, you know, verbally, but they're not going to attack us if we try to move on to Kuwait on Kuwait. So when they did that, I mean, you know, they were kind of shocked, like the United States came at them like that.
Right.
So yeah, but to me, I think the whole situation with Bush, the second Bush, allegedly, you know, he tried to kill his father. You aware of that?
Now, you know what? When I watched this movie, man, did you ever see the movie about Bush?
What's it called?
I can't remember. It's the one with what's his name? Josh Brolin played.
Oh, W.
Yeah, W. Yeah.
And
man, I didn't. But this is what this what I never knew this all these years. You see a president, you see a son, you thinking like, okay, he gonna be either just like his daddy or he's some he's some form of politician. You know what I'm saying? Congressman, he's something. But I didn't realize that. I didn't know that George Bush, the daddy, the daddy Bush didn't really like the son like that. You know what I'm saying? Or he didn't like he didn't feel like he was fit to run, or you know what I'm saying? Be like be a president or whatnot. It's like every time George thought about running or something like that, his daddy was like, "Now, it's like that's his business." I feel like his son was getting in his business because he already had a lot of ties to Saddam and a lot of the other Middle East leaders and stuff that was over there. You know what I'm saying? Either presidents or whatever they call them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was kind of like his daddy didn't really want him running for president. He was like real negative, towards George a lot, little George. So,
Right.
that's the kind of like what I was getting out of the movie. I gotta watch it again to probably like get a better perspective. But that's something I never really didn't know. Cause when you see them together, you're like, oh, okay, that's the Bushes. You know what I'm saying? Look at Daddy Bush. He's still around. You know what I'm saying? He old. I remember when he was wearing them glasses. You know what I'm saying? And was it 90, 91? I think was the go for. And I still remember. I remember that same because that's my daddy president. My daddy served under him.
Right.
Under like my daddy, he's like, oh no, George Bush, that's my president. You know what I'm saying? Them old heads, man.
Right.
They don't like when you talk about because he's like, man, you a lot for me, huh?
I think too raw got Gallagher. I got Gallagher too, man. Like,
okay, man. Okay.
But I want to thank Too Raw. I want to thank Jacob for coming by. I really want to thank Too Raw for coming by doing the interview with me. And remember, follow Too Raw on the channel, Too Raw for TV, and Too Raw. He talked about politics and sports. And remember his Cash App too, his PayPal, his Patreon people. But thank you everybody who showed up on my channel. I know it's little right now, but it will get bigger soon. But other than that, I'll talk to y'all later, and we do the next interview when I find another person. All right, peace, y'all.
Salute to you.